Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you're at watching or listening to this. This is going to be the next installment, Spilling the Tea in Studio D, and you'll probably notice somewhere within this podcast that Candace isn't here. I think last I heard she was getting an ear reduction procedure done, but I don't know. We'll see about that. But this morning, very happy to have in Studio D Jason Bohler. He works for Virtual Arkansas, and he is a core campus principal.
Yes, sir. It's actually Jason Bohler.
Oh, Jason Bohler. Okay.
Yeah, Jason Bohler is a country singer.
That's right. That's probably where I get it because I'm a country fanatic.
I got you.
Well, so as far as Virtual Arkansas goes, why don't you tell us let's go even further back than that. How about you kind of tell us your path in education? Why, where, that kind of thing.
Okay. Well, I didn't really know what I wanted to do for a long time. I spent several years in the military. And, excuse me, I was about halfway through trying to figure out what I wanted to do at the University of Arkansas at Monticello.
Right.
And I got back from a tour in Iraq, got ready to get back in school. Sorry. And my girlfriend at the time, who's my wife now, she said, well, what are you interested in? Well, at the time, I said, well, I like football.
Yeah.
She said, well, they have this thing called the MAT program.
Right.
And she knew I liked history as well, so I went and got my major in history. I went through the MAT program and started teaching and coaching down in Crossett.
Yep.
I did that for 6 years. And then during that time, got my building level administration certification from ASU, Arkansas State, and put my name in the hat for an assistant principal job there also at Crossett and got that job. And did that for 3 years. And then my oldest son had graduated school. And so we were ready to make a move. And my wife's originally from the Sheridan area. So
okay.
She got a principal job there and is still there.
Okay.
I looked around for a couple of admin jobs, didn't have much success. I heard about Virtual Arkansas, so I got a teaching job with Virtual Arkansas. I took a pretty big pay cut going from admin, but
sure,
it all worked out.
Right.
And eventually landed the role as core campus director, but we've since just called it core campus principal to cut down on the confusion.
Gotcha.
And I've been there ever since, so since 2016, 17
okay.
total.
So you got to walk through COVID like everybody else.
Absolutely.
Did that? Did you find more enrollment at that time? Did it spike up because a lot of virtual learning was going on back then?
It did spike for us, but there were a lot of schools who kind of went it alone as well, particularly for those K through 8, because we didn't offer much and still don't offer much at that level. We're mostly 9-12.
Okay.
So I know at my wife's school, they kind of had to do their own thing, and I think a lot of schools were doing their own thing and just putting stuff together as best they knew how. But we did see a spike in enrollments, yes.
All right. So when you first got into the virtual world of teaching, what kind of an adjustment was that for you? I mean, it's one thing to be in front of a class and getting immediate feedback, but it's a total different thing to basically be talking to space.
Well, yeah. Well, I would say the first year as a teacher, it was quite lonely. I just moved to a new town for one thing, and I went from being Coach Bohler everywhere I went, Walmart and all that, to not knowing very many people and being at home all day. So as far as teaching goes, I was fairly entertaining, a history teacher.
Right, yeah.
And, I didn't get to do that. So
right, yeah.
Our Zoom sessions are set up to where we can't take for granted that students always have internet and devices at home. So our Zoom sessions can't be so long that they don't have time to do the work.
Gotcha.
So that would cut down to about 20, 25-minute Zoom session. And also we want students to show up to every Zoom session, but not every student will show up.
Yeah.
And so planning a big entertaining session and pulling them in, it was an adjustment. I mean, you can still reach them.
Right.
And we have great teachers that do a great job of doing that. But for me personally, it was like I was used to moving around and basically doing stand-up while teaching history.
Sure.
And so
Yeah.
that was an adjustment for me.
Yeah. Well, let's dig into virtual Arkansas, and you may or may not know some of these questions, but a lot of folks don't know very much, or maybe even anything at all about virtual Arkansas. So, how big, teaching-wise, how many teachers, staff, any idea?
We have 115 or so full-time teachers. I think we're rolling with 66 just on the core campus.
Wow.
Because we have several or a few campuses now.
Right. Yeah.
But on my campus, we're at 66. We have been as high as up over 70.
Wow.
As you mentioned, COVID, we hired 30 teachers in like 40 days.
Yikes.
But then, of course, we couldn't keep them all because enrollment's leveled back out.
Right. Right. Yeah. So, what's a day in the life of virtual Arkansas core principal look like?
Well, it's a lot of putting out fires. I answer emails like all the time
Okay.
because that's our
Yeah.
primary means of communication, you know. And then we have our little Google chats going on too if somebody
Right.
really needs to get a hold of me. But we have meetings to plan out the week and the grading period and the semester, and we have PLC meetings just like brick and mortar schools on
Right.
Fridays. And I'm responding to administrators from other schools when
Sure.
they have an issue. Sometimes the parent will get a
Right.
hold of me. And then dealing with, like this time of year, we have a lot of extensions. We try to be flexible and
Right.
offer extensions, particularly with schools that are starting on different calendar years.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Like we need an extension because we started a week late. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
So we have a Google form, and I have to go in and improve those extensions
Right.
and let teachers know that they're coming. But
Yeah.
more or less, I'm a professional fire putter outer.
Yeah, that pretty much. I've been a principal, assistant principal, and a principal. That's a pretty good description right there of what that looks like. I know, as far as the virtual piece, you hit on something. Like the parents. What kind of interaction do you get, or do y'all do? What would be the equivalent, I guess, to open house?
We host parent nights. We have a wonderful person named Jennifer Pence. She's our facilitator coordinator, so she works with the facilitators at the school that are overseeing those classrooms. But she also hosts parent nights throughout the year, and she will host a special parent night. Say, for example, if a school is new to us and they lose a teacher
Right.
due to tragedy, or one walks out
Sure.
the door and they need someone quickly,
Right.
we will set up a parent night for those parents to attend. She'll go over everything. So that's kind of like our open house.
Okay. Yeah, that's doesn't sound a lot different from actual face-to-face one. So, going back a little bit to the scheduling and the extension piece, probably was a little tougher this year in that schools really staggered their start dates. Some schools they're testing the waters of the 4-day school week. So how'd that affect you?
Well, we've had block students, and we've had accelerated block students,
Right.
And we always have a school or two that have a fall break outside of Thanksgiving or Christmas.
Right.
We just monitor and adjust, and
Sure.
we offer those extensions. We don't give too much pushback when they need it. We
Right.
try to tell them if a student is just not doing something and they're really low, the
Right.
extension may just put them further behind on the next grading period.
Right.
But if they ask for it, we try to be flexible because
Sure.
they're there and we're not, and so
Right.
we have to take it that they're asking for a good reason, and we just do what we can to be flexible.
Yeah. Somebody once asked me what does a virtual student look like? And I think it means many things to everybody, has a different definition of that, because in my time, this is year 27 I'm walking into, and as far as the virtual piece, I think it's been really good. So what are some of the type of students you think that benefit, and maybe schools that benefit from offering the virtual piece?
Well, any school that can't find a teacher that wants to offer more choice and equity in education, particularly rural schools, which is where
Right.
our bread and butter is. That's
Right.
the schools we work with.
Right.
I think it's great for them. I went to school in Hamburg.
Okay.
my last name is Bohler, so Hamburg, Germany, Bohler, German name. I never got a chance to take German.
Right. Yeah.
But we offer German.
Yeah.
And what are the chances of a small school in
Sure.
Arkansas being able to find a German teacher?
Right.
So I think it's great school-wide to offer more choice, including scheduling issues. So if a student wants to be in, if it's in multiple extracurricular activities that doesn't align with their one chance to have an AP course that day,
Right.
they can take an AP course through us. So.
Right. Well, and I think too, every kid that's in alternative education is there for their own reason. I thinking back when I was a superintendent, we had a young lady that had gotten pregnant, and rather than go to school and try to make it, especially the closer she got to delivery day, this was a great option for her. The ALE/virtual piece really and truly gave her an opportunity. So what are some other, I guess, maybe instances you feel like Virtual Arkansas's they benefit from it?
Okay, so what turned me on to Virtual Arkansas was we used it down in Crossett when I was assistant principal, and we offered a 0-8 period. So a student could come in early and after the seat time thing.
Sure, right.
Could come in early and work on a course and stay late and work on a course, and we'd keep the lab open. So a young lady who got off to a pretty bad start in her high school career decided she wanted to graduate with her class, and she did. She went in there and got it done, so she was able to get those a couple extra credits and graduate on time. So that's a good one. We've had students who have been admitted to Arkansas Children's, and they have an education liaison there, and so if they're able to get on the computer and work, they're able to continue.
Wow. So. That's pretty good. Hadn't thought about either one of those necessarily, but, there are some kids, this is what we found after COVID, I guess you would say. A lot of kids, I guess, experienced virtual learning for the first time. Not a lot of them, but we've had a handful that, they say they don't want to go back. Some want to get in there, and like you're saying, if they're really self-motivated, they'll want to get in there and, do whatever it takes to get caught up or to maybe advance and accelerate their, time in school, I guess.
Absolutely. I always say, virtual or online learning is not for every single person. It's just nothing is. There's always, going to be those students who may struggle with it, but before I made that determination, I would look at the students' motivation.
Right.
And I would look at how they use technology in other ways.
Right.
So I'm learning guitar from YouTube videos, and I have an instructor I meet with once a week on Zoom.
Oh, wow.
I've gotten much better since I've started meeting with that instructor, but that's because I want to learn the guitar.
Exactly.
So if a student's doing all the TikTok dances and got everything and learning all that, then they can probably learn math online too. It's just do you want to do it?
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You say technology. I can remember back in what was it? I don't know. They had like a T1 line that rolled in. It was all CSV, and the thing that back then there wasn't a lot of flexibility. This was the time the course was being taught, and I remember it was pretty difficult with some schools to make that adjustment to hit them. But now I think it's easier to probably to get a virtual class into the schedule.
Oh, absolutely. It's conceivable that if you had 20 students in the computer lab, they could all 20 be taking 20 different courses through us.
Right.
And our teachers try to send out a survey at the beginning to find out when they can catch the majority of their students, and they set their Zoom schedules accordingly, both by time during the day and what day of the week. So
wow, yeah, that makes it much easier, and that's the thing I think, kind of a generational type thing, because kids today they've grown up with technology, whereas when this rolled out, it was still kind of new, believe it or not. But it's been kind of neat to watch, that progress. And not that the quality was bad ever. It's just the fact that they had very little teachers and they were spread so thin. So now, like I say, with the offerings that you guys have. So Roughly on a core type campus like that, how many offerings roughly?
Oh, that's a good question. I know we're getting on up there.
Yeah.
Uh, I would say up over 100 or so.
Okay.
But, let me see. I don't have that written down. I'm sorry.
No, that's no problem. And you said something about the foreign language piece. I've known a couple folks that have dove in there, and those like AP, some of the foreign language classes, those are pretty motivated kids to begin with. So these kids that come in there, let's just say for whatever reason, not that motivated. What does it take to get them motivated?
Well, it takes constant communication, and it takes partnership between all the stakeholders. So everybody's got a role to play.
Right.
The most important person besides the teacher and student is the facilitator in the classroom.
Right.
If the facilitator is really organized and can track all her kids and know exactly where they are and what they need to be doing,
right,
has good management of the space, then that's always a benefit. We try to make sure our teachers are communicating several times a week.
Right.
Sending out grade reports that go to both parents and students. And there's the other piece. The parents, we offer the observer role, where a parent can log in and see exactly where their student is, what they're missing, and where they need to be. And then on the part of the student, it's just like any other course. If you're enrolled and you need that credit to graduate, you should do the best you can do, and then hopefully by the time it's over, you will gain an appreciation of whatever it is.
Right. So, core campus principal is what you're called. How many, principals are there in the chain here?
So I have an assistant principal. Her name is Samantha Carpenter.
Okay.
And I'm so thankful for her. Last year was her first year. So before that, we had 70 teachers, and it was just me.
Wow.
So I'm very thankful for Miss Carpenter.
Sure.
And then Christy Lewis is over the CTE campus.
Right.
Laura Hicks works out of the Southeast Co-op. She's over the concurrent credit campus. And then just this year, we started an off-campus, fully online program.
Okay.
And so that's led by Dr. Nick Mounts.
Okay.
His first year as principal of that campus.
Yeah. Nick's he's a Dawson guy from Standpoint. He used to be at Centerpoint. He's a great guy too. So, as far as when we talk virtual learning, let's talk about on the receiving end. What does it take as a student to be able to pipe that in? Or to receive it, I guess I should say.
You mean the equipment?
Yes.
Necessary?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, they just need a computer. We ask that the schools have headphones,
right,
microphones, because as I said earlier, it could be a lot of students taking different courses, so the headphones come in handy there.
Right.
So a computer with a working screen, camera, so they can Zoom, headphones. Some way to communicate back, so a microphone, and then the lockdown browser needs to be installed so that when they take a test, we can ensure that it's secure.
Right. Sure.
And that's about it.
Okay. Yeah. It's and again that's a piece of it that's gotten a lot easier, I think, as far as the access of the teaching from what it was many years ago. I mean looking back, I don't ever really, in my mind, I'm thinking, how the heck did they make it work with those old computers that just drug. And when it first came out, it had the habit of just dropping out. It didn't take much to overload it and shut it down. So, but now it's virtually, you could probably have as many students if you wanted to.
Yeah, well, there's still a lot of grading that takes place and a lot of communication. So we try to cap our teachers to a certain level, but it can be more than what a brick and mortar teacher would see, but maybe not just hundreds. We try to about 250 maybe.
Right.
And less if it's an AP course, particularly an ELA course that has a lot of essay grading.
Oh yeah,
and that sort of thing.
Well, I hadn't thought about that, but so you get to get out in the schools, right?
Yes, well, COVID kind of shut it down.
Well, yeah, yeah.
Before COVID, we had site visits, and all it took was our teacher to reach out and say, "Hey, I want to go see my kids at this school," and they'd put in a site visit request. And
Right.
if it was something really crucial that we needed to be there, we'd meet them there. We actually have one this Thursday.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But then it kind of slacked off during COVID because of all the protocol and everything.
Sure.
And it's kind of picked back up this year. We've been to one school, the administrative staff, and met one of our teachers over there a couple weeks ago, and we have one this Thursday. So if someone loses a teacher and has to enroll their entire class,
Right.
and that's the key too. You talk about student motivation. If they choose a course, that's a whole lot easier to deal with than if they had no choice.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And so we go to those schools and try to help them navigate through what do you tell parents when you have no choice but to enroll them,
Right.
and how do you do that? So we have a similar situation this Thursday. We go when we're needed.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, and I looking at it, that's important, probably just as important for the teachers from time to time, to get out and if there is an issue, isn't an issue, but just to say, hey, great job, doing a great job.
Oh, they love it.
Right.
They love it. And sometimes they'll even, a student will hit them up and say, I've got a football game Friday night. And you said you live where now? Oh, you're only 45 minutes away, and our teachers will go. They go to the basketball game.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great when the students see that they're not robots.
Sure.
They're real people in the stands cheering for them. So.
Right. And obviously I'm a little bit closer to CTE because it's here, but that conversation is pretty hot and heavy on the table again. The career and technical piece of education, for so many years it was college, and now the CTE piece has picked back up. And I know you do the core piece, but how old are your kids? Are they in school, out of school?
I have excuse me, I got a frog in my throat today. Perfect day to have that. So my daughter, my youngest, she's 15. She's a 10th grader, and she goes to Sheridan. And then my son is actually a teacher and football coach in his second year at Whitehall.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, and the point I was going to try to make there with your own kids, I mean, that always seems to somewhat keep you grounded, or gives you an opportunity to keep your thumb on what kids are thinking. And I think sometimes we look past that. But, I'm one of these guys that believe it, have always believed it, that we need to be doing what is in the best interest of, the student. And that's, I think, why I'm a big fan of Virtual Arkansas, is because like we were talking about earlier, when it comes down to scheduling, those kinds of things, there's a lot of flexibility built in, and hopefully we're catching some of those folks that were on the border, or on the edge of quitting school. So I think Virtual Arkansas is just it's an incredible thing that I think as we rock on, will continue to expand as more and more people learn about it.
I hope so. Like I say, I have a brick and mortar background, but I'm not the only one. I would say over 90% of Virtual Arkansas all has brick and mortar experience, from administration and through all the teachers and all. So we understand that. We're not trying to replace any of those people, but we do want to be here to help, and I'm excited about it. And I always joke around, they're going to have to run me off.
Yeah, right.
Because I love it. And I didn't know that I would have loved it as much as I do when I left brick and mortar, because like I said, I was a social guy and I was used to being around my students.
Yeah.
But
well, that's what I was going to ask you. Even as a principal in the seat you're in now, do you miss that connectivity with the kids from time to time?
I do. Yeah, I do miss that. But I think I would have felt the same way when I got out of coaching.
Right.
That's when you really.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
When you're in a locker room or stuck on a bus with them for 3 hours. But I mean, time, life moves on, and you do what you do. I miss it, but like I say, I kind of live through my son now with him coaching.
Right.
I can still go watch junior high kids mix it up on the field. And my daughter plays soccer. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, yeah, you still get to bounce around and like I say, kind of keep your feet in the water, so to speak. But looking back on it, I think sometimes that's the thing here too, is I really and truly feel like we have we're making an impact on many more kids than a school district, knowing that we have 22 districts that we help. But, the thing for us, if it's going, bad day or whatever, I just take me a detour to one of our pre-Ks, and man, I'll snap back into it, get all happy again, because everybody's happy for the most part in pre-K.
I agree. My wife's K2 principal, and they have a lot of fun there.
Right.
Her and her teachers are really close, and so I kind of feed through them a little bit too. So.
Right. Well, before we wrap it completely up, got a couple things here. So if you were to encourage, let's just say, well, your daughter's a perfect example of the right age, 10th grade. So if you were to encourage them to go one way or the other as far as career-wise, that kind of stuff, how do you approach that, I guess?
Well, that's tough because my daughter's probably known somewhat what she wanted to do since she was little. So I would just say that regardless of what you end up doing, because there's plenty of time to change your mind, and you're going to change your mind.
Oh, yeah.
You may not know exactly what you want to do until you're 30. I do.
Right. Exactly. That's me.
And so I would just say to go ahead and hedge your bets just in case.
Oh, yeah.
So to me, that's why I think school and education is so important, because a student will tell, and I've heard them 100 times, I don't need this. I'm not going to do it. Well, you don't really know what you're going to need.
Yeah.
So why not know it and have that so that if you do need it later, you've got it. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I used to tell kids. That's the one thing that nobody can ever take away from you is your education. And it doesn't matter, where you go or where you end up. If you get that education, it's still going to be there. And the thing I love about working with those kids and being in it as long as we have now is being able to see those kids that go out, become successful, or, just surprised by some of these kids. You thought, I don't think that kid will ever make it, but they come back and they've been very successful.
Oh, it makes me so happy. I keep up with a lot of them on social media, and some of them have like some crazy things going on that I'd have never, ever thought of. Some of them are coaches down in Crossett now, like pretty much the whole staff. And then there's one guy that's like a social media phenomenon. Like he gets asked to go to places and sign autographs.
Wow.
And I just don't, I never thought of him that way.
Right.
But he's got his thing. So, I mean, it's great to see.
Oh, for sure. Well, and this is where we kind of get into, we like to, talk a little bit about on the personal side. So by that, I mean, we always ask everybody what's on their playlist, as you drive around.
Well, how long is the podcast? I mean, unless it's like Joe Rogan length. No, I'm a huge music fan. So, and I listen to everything from Nina Simone to Metallica.
Right. Yeah. That's
everything in between.
Yeah. That sounds like me. And, I guess working in radio, I guess that's where my eyes were just busted wide open about the impact that music can have. I mean, it can change an attitude up or down. It can, just breathe life into an empty room. So, but I'm like you. I listen to it all. So, at the end of the day, we started this question last week and said, what's your most embarrassing moment as a teacher?
Oh, as a teacher.
Well, we can say principal too.
When I mispronounced one person's name during graduation.
Oh, wow.
I'd practiced for like 3 hours.
Right.
And I knew that was going to be a difficult name.
Right.
And I thought I had it down, but just the nerves got to me. And I messed up the one person's name. And that embarrassed me because it was not right for her to have to endure that. Out of 100-something kids, she's the one kid whose name. And so I think I heard a parent or two yell from the stands about that. So that was pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, and I've been there too. And what folks don't understand is, as you're doing that, you want that thing to flow like it needs to flow. And in your mind, okay, I'm 2 names away, 1 more name away, and boom, there it is. And you're like, uh-oh, I've been there, I've done that too. Yeah. So,
well, to be fair, it was like a middle name that I wasn't used to calling her. I didn't get her actual name that that you had to read the whole name during graduation.
Oh, sure.
So.
Yeah. Well, if you could give, one piece of advice to, like I said, to young people that are rolling out there, and kind of unsure about their future. The thing is, statistically speaking, kids are going to change jobs a ton of times. And I don't know if that's good or bad. That's how it is. That's what it is. And, this is career too for me, but I think about how the two kind of dovetail together. Some of the things that I learned from, some what I would probably call failures or whatever. I mean, you learn a lot out of those things. So what would you say to encourage these kids?
Like I say, I would just say get your foundation so that you have more choices later on when your head clears and you get to that age
Sure.
where you really want
Right.
you've got something to I hate to say fall back on, because that's what I was told as a kid when
Right.
I told my mom I wanted to be on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
I never made it there. So. But it is nice to have a foundation though. And then other than that, have a plan. And
Right.
work a plan. You
Sure.
can't, Tom Brady didn't just sit at home and think about winning his 7th Super Bowl.
Sure.
Nick Saban
Right.
doesn't think about the national championship. He always talks about the process.
Exactly.
So I would say develop your own process and break things down into baby steps and just
Right.
do one thing at a time. And
Sure.
just always be working
Yeah.
towards something.
Yeah, and where I came from, it felt like there we started to think, gosh, I bet it's been probably 8 years ago we did a conversion charter, and in the beginning we were going to do it at the high school level, but when we backed up and really thought about it, we said, we need to go to middle school and let it grow with them, and we had they had their own personal plan, and there were several kids that would change their mind. And I can remember teachers, parents saying, well, that's just silly at 8th grade. They don't know what they're going to do. I said, well, maybe there are some. I remember we were having a conversation with an employee from Department of Ed coming out visiting and stuff, and said that she had a nephew that wanted to be a computer programmer until he found out he had to take calculus and statistics, and he said, I'm out, So I think it's better to, maybe run into the wall at that age.
Absolutely, because it's not costing you anything.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
You don't want to get to college and find out that's not what you want to do.
Yeah. And I've had a few friends in my lifetime that have done that. So, but I always tell kids too, I mean, you got to love what you're doing. And because if you don't, it's going to make for a miserable life. And again, I think that's just part of the growing older process is knowing, there's going to be setbacks in whatever you do. So,
absolutely.
So how long?
My major changed 3 times.
Yeah.
I was in nursing school for about 2 days, realized I don't like needles, and then criminal justice with a minor in psychology, and I thought, I'm never going to be Clarice Starling.
Right.
And so there you go.
So how long did you serve active there? What branch were you in?
Well, I started out in the Army National Guard down at Monticello in a transportation unit when I was 17.
Oh.
And then when I was 20, I went active duty Coast Guard for 4 years.
Wow.
And I got back. I was completely out. And then after 9/11,
right,
I was getting ready to go back to school and needed the money. And I said, well, I'm going to get back in the National Guard, but this time I'm going to join an infantry unit out of Crossett.
Right.
So I joined a infantry unit out of Crossett, and I was in school for maybe a year, and then we got called to Iraq. So that was 2 years.
Wow.
And then I finished up school when I got back.
Okay.
So 6 years total active and probably 6 guard time.
Okay. Well, first of all, thanks for your service. I mean, but I'll say this too. I've been pretty fortunate in that in all my years in education, I've got, the opportunity to work for folks that serve in some branch. And what I, again, one of those things I looked past or wasn't even thinking about is the, I guess, the real world vision or version of, I know you said you teach history. And obviously 9/11 is going to be a big part of a lot of kids' history. So living it and being able to relate it, that's got to be a pretty good piece of it.
Oh, yeah. I used to, the beginning of the year, I used to just do a real quick thing. They didn't really learn anything from it except hopefully that everything's kind of connected. So
Right.
I would start at World War I, talk for like 2 minutes. You know, we obviously went into it deeper later, and I'd get all the way to 9/11 and connect every dot. And I was like, this is what you learn if you pay attention. That all this stuff goes together. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it helps, and I always had the kids asking questions about it and everything.
Right.
You know, what was Iraq like? And all
Sure.
that sort of
Oh
thing.
yeah.
Some things you don't want to tell them.
Yeah. Exactly.
Some things you just roll with it and try to tell them the funnier stuff.
Oh yeah. Exactly. So, what do you do in your spare time?
We travel. You know, I don't have. I like a lot of these things, but I don't have them because my money goes elsewhere. I don't have a party barge or a bass boat or duck hunting. I hunt during hunting season. I watch football, Razorbacks, Cowboys, and then we travel as much as we can, mostly national parks, and then I'm trying to learn how to play guitar, and we go to concerts. Last concert was a couple weeks ago in Dallas. We went to see the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh wow, okay, yeah, and well, that, you know, yeah, there's nothing like a live show. I promise you that.
Right.
So, how long have you been practicing with the guitar?
I actually picked it up when COVID hit. I needed something to do.
Sure.
And I just got on this app and learned about every cowboy chord you could learn. And I thought, well, you know, this is fun and I can sing along and this is good for campfire, but I want to I want to get a little bit better.
Right.
So I found an instructor through TuneLark.
Yeah.
And I meet with him. He's out of New Orleans, and he's trying to teach me how to really play the guitar. So,
right. So you spend what, an hour or?
And I try to spend at least an hour a day practicing, but I only meet with him 30 minutes, but that's more of a budget thing.
Sure. Yeah.
But he gives me plenty to work on for the following week.
Yeah. That's one of those things. Looking back in life, I thought, man, if I'd only taken the time to, and I know you're never too old to do that stuff. And right now, it's just time to fit into a schedule, you know. But that's kind of neat that you're able to do it virtually.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Like I'm a virtual learner now.
Yeah,
you know, and he lives in New Orleans.
Yeah,
and it was I kind of get the feeling how a student would feel at first because I'm like, I don't know, and then now it's like, hey man, what's going on? We're like buddies, and I've never met the guy. You know.
Yeah, and you know, I again, to me that's is so powerful for you to be doing that and being able, you know, given the chance to relate that to a kid and say, hey, you know, and you know, that's just basic rule 101. It's never too late to do the right thing, or it's never too late to pursue a dream is how I look at that. And so, but by you doing it, that sets an incredible example, I think. So
I try.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming in. Sorry for botching your name. That's, you know, if Candace was here, she'd get on me for not writing it down. But, you know, that's one of the things that doing these things, I just want it to be a conversation, learn more about people. But, man, I really appreciate you coming in and taking the time.
I appreciate you having me. And don't worry about the name. It happens to me all the time. I'm bowling, Boulder.
Yeah. Well, you can imagine what kind of fun we've had with Beckwith through the years. When I worked in radio, I had to go with Darren Ray because Beckwith was so long, you know. Right. So, but yeah, I've had it slaying pretty good too. So. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this session of Spilling the Tea in Studio D.